Good morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, November 30th, 2023 at 9 a.m. And I'll call this meeting of the Board of Directors for the Animal Service Center of the Mesilla Valley to order. And if I can get if you all would like to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And if we can get a roll call, please.
Board Member Demouche. Board Member Weir.
Present.
Board Member Ward.
Present.
Board Member Flores.
Present.
Board Member Coran.
Present.
Board Member Shayla Hernandez.
Here.
Chair Sanchez.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. All right. Well, then we'll move on to our first order of business, which is the acceptance of the agenda. If I can get a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
So moved, Sheldro Hernandez.
Seconded, Cor.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Sheldro Hernandez and a second by Councilor Corn. Are there any questions, comments, any changes to the agenda? All right. If I get a roll call on the approval of the agenda.
Board Member Weir.
Yes.
Board Member Flores.
Yes.
Board Member Coran.
Yes.
Board Member Shayla Hernandez.
Yes.
Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, then we'll move on to agenda item number 4.1, which is the approval of the minutes from the regular ASCMV board meeting held on October 26th, 2023. If I can get a motion and a second for begin discussion, please.
So moved, Sheldro Hernandez.
Seconded, Cor.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions on the attached minutes? All right, not hearing or seeing any. Then I'll ask for a roll call on the approval of the minutes from October 26, 2023.
Board Member Weir.
Yes.
Board Member Flores.
Yes.
Board Member Coran.
Yes.
Board Member Shayla Hernandez.
Yes.
Chair Sanchez.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. All right, then we're on to the reports and presentations portion of our agenda. We'll start with 5.1, the CFPP presentation, which will be from Michelle Correa from SNAP. I'd like to welcome you up. And thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for the invitation to present. I am Michelle Correa. I am the current director of the Spay-Neuter Action Program. I'm pretty sure I'm going to regret not bringing my glasses, but here we go. And I forget every time how to make this big.
This is a PDF, so I don't know if you can, I don't know if
just
it's
have to
quite the
leave it?
same.
Just
Yeah.
leave it the way it is? Okay.
Close.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and then
Okay. Thanks, Bernice. All right. All right. So this is just a quick little chart showing our spays and neuters, for the past 10 years, 11 years actually. And if you look at what we're so far doing this year, as of the end of October, we have exceeded, what we did last year. And we're on track probably to be very close to what was accomplished in 2019. There's been a huge surge in demand this year, and we're doing our best to keep up with that demand. I say we, but it's really the vets keeping up with the demand. But we're on track to possibly beat that record that we set in 2019. So in 2022, county animals made up about 54% of our total of 1,401 animals that were spayed and neutered through SNAP. And dogs were about 61% of the total. And, historically, county and city, they're pretty close. Sometimes city has more, sometimes county, but they're generally pretty close to, being even from year to year. And there's usually more dogs. There's usually about a 60-40 split on dogs and cats. So this is fairly, just normal for what we see. We do serve Las Cruces and Donna Ana County residents, and we qualify them based on the HUD income guidelines and their family size. We try really hard to help as many people as we can, and this year again has just been unprecedented. I think with inflation and just everything that's going on, families are really, they're falling into that low-income parameter, first of all, and then they're just really in need of the services. Currently, we do ask for a copay of $50 for a cat and $75 for a dog for people living in incorporated areas of the county. Right now, the county residents, people in unincorporated areas of the county, do not pay a copay thanks to the county who provides us with a contract. And we've been partnering with them for some time, and we're very, very grateful for that help. Additionally, the county residents receive a voucher for a rabies shot and a microchip. So their animals are fully compliant if they go through our program. So how does that happen? Clients call, they can email, or they can visit our office. We are open Tuesday through Friday from 11 to 3, and people need to answer just a few questions to determine eligibility. And again, that is based on income for the county clients. We do ensure that they are living in unincorporated areas of the county to be sure that they do qualify for that program where they do not have to pay a copay. Once we qualify them, and depending on where they live, they receive the appropriate application, and we do now have the ability to provide that application to them electronically. We have a fillable PDF, so we can email that to folks. They can fill it out and provide us with snapshot attachments of the qualifying documents, whether they are in the city or the county. And if they're city residents or incorporated county residents, we have the ability to use an electronic method for collecting the copayment. So the only time they really have to come into the office is to get their voucher, or we can mail that to them. So we do our best to make it as simple for folks as we can. We do allow currently up to 6 vouchers per year, and they can be redeemed at one of the local participating veterinarians, including the Animal Service Center in the Mesilla Valley. These folks partner with SNAP, and they just, they're great people, all the vets and the ASCMV folks, and they are doing their best to help us reduce the number of puppies and kittens being born. We work with about 9, veterinary clinics, including 1 in Truth or Consequences and 1 in Deming. We are currently reaching out continually to folks in the El Paso, the veterinarians in the El Paso area, because we do have a lot of clients who live in the southern part of the county, and it would really be helpful to them to have a veterinarian in that area. We haven't succeeded yet, but we're still trying. And then at the end of the month, all of our participating veterinarians, they return those redeemed vouchers to us, and that's when we pay them. So that's kind of how our program works. And we've tweaked it along throughout the years, and it runs like a finely tuned machine at this point. So I think we have a really good, solid process in place, and it's a real benefit to the community. This is how we can be reached. We are at 2405 West Bocacho, Suite 103, again, Tuesday through Friday from 11 to 3. That's our phone number. We do have a website, and we do have email. So we try to give folks a myriad of ways to reach us, and that's about it. Questions?
Thank you, Ms. Correa. Any questions, board members? Councilor Corn.
I do have questions. Thank you, Michelle, for everything that you do now, SNAP, and all the other things that you do in our community, which are extraordinary, including creating the map for trying to do TNR everywhere. So I just always want to give you credit for your advocacy. I have 2 questions sort of on both ends. One is on the sort of demand for voucher end. How much would you estimate the demand outstrips the numbers that you're able to provide?
So far, and again, it's really dependent on the veterinary capacity. Right now, with a couple of exceptions, the vets are booking out, 5 to 8 weeks. And so just depending on the need, we do utilize the ASCMV when we can. If we have these issues that are kind of an urgent nature, we also send clients, if they're willing and able, to Deming and Truth or Consequences. They don't have quite the volume that the vets here in Cruces do. So Rachel Snow, who is our client coordinator, she is awesome at figuring all of that out, and she takes care of that into the business. And so far, we're able to facilitate the folks who have come in. But in all honesty, we've been hunting grants, just like all of the other nonprofits in this area. Grants are harder to come by, and we are waiting to hear back on a couple of grants. And if we're successful, yay, and if we're not, we're going to really have to take a hard look at how we move forward next year. And it may involve rationing of vouchers, to be quite honest, because we can't be spending more than we're taking in. We have to be able to pay our bills at the end of the month, and so we're going to have to take a really hard look at our income, whether it's from donations, grants, whatever, so be it, and see how we move forward. So it's been a tough year for everybody, and we'll just have to see what next year brings.
And that was actually the other side of the question that I wanted to ask you, and this is also for our county partners. I know that you all have been funding this program for many, many years. I would like for the city to consider a similar type of process, and I'm curious where the funds come from within the county and how you justify this, your spending. And I say that not like we wouldn't justify it, I just say it like if we were going to increase capacity for spay and neuter, I think that there are many models. One of them is funding SNAP, others are funding other types of grants or activities. I'm curious how you all do it and what does that look like on your end? So that's less of a question for you, but more of a question for us. And I think I just want to speak to the idea that there are models where we are doing this, and
what I will say with respect to that, and I don't know, I don't pertain to know the ins and outs of how the county makes these kinds of decisions, and I know that historically the city has funded, it's been more like the human side of the equation. They fund those types of things, at least that's my understanding. And what I will say is that, at the end of every one of these animals is a person who is in need. So it is very much a human issue, and it is a huge problem in this community. And the only way that we are going to get a handle on this problem is by widespread, community-wide spay and neuter. And SNAP is a big part of that, and we want to continue to the best of our ability, but like I said, next year is kind of a big question mark for us, just depending on how things go.
And I don't know, I want to defer before I make some comments, either to Ms. Weir or Ms. Ward, if you wanted to add on or at least help answer Councilor Corrin's questions.
I can go ahead and take that one. We use the PILT funds to fund the amount we contribute to SNAP, and it's based on the health and safety components that allow us to do that.
Thank you. And I think that's part of the question that we struggle with, I think, a lot, is figuring out how to potentially do that. I think we all have to consider how we address this problem in the most strategic ways, and I know that SNAP has been doing it, and so that's partly why I really appreciate you coming and sort of talking about the picture and how this works, and adding to the consideration of possibilities for our ongoing conversations that I think we're having. So sorry, Leanne, sorry, I'm just thank you very much, Michelle, for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Corrin. Thank you, Ms. Ward, for helping with that. And I did want, and Michelle, before you leave, I had a couple of questions. Sorry about that. and I know when we talk financially, and I know when we're looking at this, I guess the two questions I had is, have you found any type of hesitation or the reason why you haven't been able to identify a vet in the southern part of the county that's willing to participate?
The biggest reason that a lot of the vets have given us is that they already are booked. I mean, they're at capacity for what they can handle. And, we generally are very flexible. If a vet is willing to take 15 or 20 clients a month, fabulous. But if they can only do, 5 to 10. So we make that very clear, but generally they just say, we're not in a position to help you because we're already at capacity with our clients.
Do we, and maybe this is my ignorance and I apologize, are we, like when you're looking at the southern part of the county, is there any opportunity that you can use the funds in El Paso? given that there might be some additional resources, vets in that area?
So you're saying SNAP would utilize the funds to work with veterinarians in El Paso?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
And I'm just trying to figure out, just like I said, I was just trying to understand, because I mean, obviously, I know the availability of vets is one thing that we hear a lot of, non-spay and neuter, but even as private residents, when, you have something happening with your pet, and here in Las Cruces, we're very limited, or Doña Ana County, we're very limited, so I completely understand, that struggle. I think is one of the things that we talked about, and I was going to bring up during the executive committee report, is I know with the county that we just recently worked on, approved a strategic plan that will kind of give us direction over the next 5 years. And I don't know I know there's some metrics that we'll be working on and identifying, and I know that I know that'll be for Ms. Ward and Ms. Ward to kind of take a look at and figure out how we achieve those as we step into the end of this fiscal year into the next one. But I'd love to have maybe a further conversation with, with SNAP, with the ASCMV, and even our cohorts at the city as well, so we can figure out what's the best way that we can attack this. Because I think one of the key points of the strategic plan was trying to minimize the animals that end up going into the ASCMV.
Absolutely.
And so, but we've got to look at the root causes to really understand what are all those reasons of the animals going to ASCMV. Why are we getting called out why are ACOs being called out? And, I do believe as we've done our operations, like trying to educate people across the county, SNAP has been one of the big things that we try to inform them of, so that way they know there's a program that they can help, address the proliferation of animals, or, especially when they're not planning on it.
Sure.
So, but I
One of the
appreciate-
things I forgot to mention also is that we do have 2 bilingual volunteers, and that has really been a game changer for SNAP. They're really wonderful ladies, and there's a lot that goes with answering the phones at SNAP. You have to be aware of a lot of different information, and they've really caught on, and it's really made a difference. A lot of clients come in and they're much more comfortable, of course, speaking with somebody in their native language. So it's been a real benefit to us to have those folks.
Great.
But yeah, SNAP is willing and able to work with anyone and everyone, and we are a very data-driven organization. We have a lot of metrics. We have the ability to do queries on our database and get whatever information would be helpful to anybody who is making those types of inquiries.
Right, great. No, I appreciate it, and like I said, I think I'd love to continue the conversation, maybe at whether it be a county commission meeting, and just get, for the rest of the commissioners to hear exactly, the great work that you're doing at SNAP, and again, how, we can continue to partner with you, and how we can maybe look and seeing if there's any opportunities to improve that.
Absolutely. Well, I would look forward to that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, now we'll move on to agenda item 5.2, which is the city and county ACO reports. Mr. Halsey, good morning.
Good morning, Board Chair Sanchez and the rest of the board. My name is Brian Halsey. I'm the caseworker for Doña Ana County, here to present the October report. If I could just find it. Apparently I can't read today. There we go. All right. So for the month of October, we ended up with 286 reported stray animals. Out of those reported stray animals, we were able to pick up 237 stray animals. Out of those, 67 of them were cats and 170 of them were dogs. We ended up picking up 12 sick or injured animals, 5 were cats and 7 were dogs. And we ended up with 16 owner surrender animals, and they were all dogs. This is our reported stray calls for the last 4 years. If you could tell, this year's been pretty high for us compared to the other years. This one's been pretty consistent. This is our 4-year field return to owner comparison. This is if the officers are able to find owner identification or able to track down the owners, and we give them their dogs back without it going to the Animal Service Center in Mesilla Valley. This is what that's for. And for the month of October, we had 12. The additional animals picked up, again, we had no owner-surrendered cats. We had 16 owner-surrendered dogs. We had 12 sick and injured animals. We had 5 welfare hold animals. We had no neglect cases, 4 shelter quarantines, 1 home quarantine. We had 2 dogs brought in for cases through the county. Currently, we have no evidence, live evidence being held. We had 0 rabies submission. We had 26 diverted intakes. That was our officers being able to make it to where the animals weren't having to be picked up and taken to the Animal Service Center, which is different from a field RTO. We had 404 educational outlets, and our calls for the month of October were 760. This is our strays per district. In District 1, we had 12 cats and 12 dogs and no cats. In District 2, we had 22 cats and 14 dogs. District 3, we had 8 cats and 28 dogs. In District 4, that was one of our hot spots for the month of October because it's getting colder. It seems like we always get more during that time. We had 12 cats and 36 dogs. In Anthony, the District 5 in Barreno, we had 4 cats and 34 dogs. The biggest uptake on that one, the only thing I could think of is that we had just had one of our ACES projects in that area. So we were hitting that area a little bit heavier than normal. In District 6, we had 5 cats and 5 dogs, and District 7, which is always a hot spot for us, we had 16 cats and 41 dogs. These are stray cats picked up by district. And these are the stray dogs picked up by district. As you could tell, District 7 is always a hot spot for us. And these are reasons for our owner surrenders. Of the 16, we had 1, they just weren't able to keep on the property, then they didn't want to get citations or anything, so the owner surrendered it. We had 2 that they just weren't able to take care of. We had 3 for aggressive behavior. We had 3 dogs, they were on their own property, but they kept fighting their other dogs, so the owner surrendered them just so it wouldn't cause any issues with them. We had 3 that were sick and injured or old. One of those, I believe, was a rattlesnake bite, and the owner surrendered it. We had 1 for a livestock attack, and we had 3 where the owners themselves were having age or health issues, and the owner surrendered their animals. After that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councilor Flores, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your presentation. How many of those that you bring in are claimed by anybody? Do you keep those stats?
No, those would be hard stats for us to keep. That would be through, what I would say that would always be through the Animal Services Center from their RTOs and everything that they do. But that would be hard for us to keep track of because it's not going through our system.
Okay. Oh, it's just because it's a high number.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. Are there any other questions? All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Halsey. Good morning.
Morning, Chair, members of the board. My name is Janine Torres. I'm an Animal Control Officer for the City of Las Cruces. I'll be presenting today on behalf of Supervisor Gino Jimenez. He's dealing with a bit of laryngitis. And our first slide is the reported stray animals for the month of October. We had a total of 467 reported stray animals. 240 of those were gone on arrival. Much better. 227 of those were stray animals apprehended, 188 stray impounded at the shelter, 100 of those were dogs and 88 cats, 39 successful field returns, 12 unsuccessful attempted field returns and had to be impounded at the shelter, a total of 51 identifiable stray animals. The reported stray animal calls, this is the 3-year comparison. For 2023, we have a total of 5,072 reported strays, 467 for the month of October. Here is the 3-year comparison for field return to owners. We've had, for the total of 2023, 456 returns. Community cat program, we had a total of 652 cat and trap calls. For 2023, 115 of those were released. Reasons for owner releasing animals, we had 3 for aggression, 3 were sick, 1 of those was euthanasia request, 3 dogs keep escaping, 3 dogs cannot care for any longer, 3 puppies the landlord did not allow, 2 dogs for bite, 1 youth request, 1 dog couldn't afford, 1 dog for too big for the owner to handle, 1 cat for aggression, 1 dog fights with other pets, and 1 cat sick couldn't afford the vet care. Reasons unable to field RTO, 6 of those were unable to be contacted by phone or residents. 4 of those were out of town. 1 chip was not registered, and 1 registered owner rehomed the dog, new information unknown. Our peak performance measures, 10% reduction of stray animal bite responses, 10% reduction in owner-victim bite responses. Our monthly calls for service were 1,196, year-to-date, 11,903. Our highlights, we attended the Alpha Learning School for Trunk or Treat. I had the honor of doing that myself. It was a pretty good turnout, a lot of kids, adults, different ages. We'd like to do more of those, definitely. And per request from Chair Gandara, this is the National Animal Care and Control Association, NACA Level 1. I'll give you a minute to read through the topics. Me personally, I took a lot out of dangerous dog. I would like to reduce the number of dangerous dogs we take to court or by self-admission by educating before it happens. So I take that one very personal. This is the level 2 of NACA. And I will stand for questions.
Thank you, ACO Torres. Are there any questions? Councilor Corn.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. Thank you, and super interesting, the trainings that you all go through, and clearly I appreciate that you have a focus on trying to reduce dangerous dogs. And actually that goes to my question sort of about peak performance, and I know that you all are including that at our request, so thank you, Gino, for including that. But I also feel like in some ways, the better job you do, the worse you'll do on some of those peak performance indicators. And so I guess I don't really know if the goal of that is if increasing awareness is the thing, then it's happening and more people are calling, which is actually a really positive outcome, even though it looks like the inverse when you talk about the peak performance indicators. And I don't know how often you get to revise those, but I would say an indicator that shows how much education you're doing instead of only focused on the outcomes, which may change as a result of the education in a negative way because more people are paying attention to what's happening and calling you for an intervention, which is great, I think, but less than ideal when that call is the thing that you're going to get measured. Or I wouldn't say that anyone's judging you all on those particular things, but I just think the idea of peak performance measures, just seeing them in that context, I was thinking like, no, it's good that people call, as you alluded to, right? But it looks like it's going in the absolutely wrong direction. And so it feels like the more work you do on education, the worse the peak performance indicators might turn out. And so I just want to acknowledge that I see that like contrast in the data, and I appreciate you providing a little bit of context to knowing all the things that you do and whether or not that is an indicator of that being a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's important to understand the nuance of those numbers. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilor Corn. And I was actually that was going to be one of my questions, because I was kind of curious with your peak performance numbers. Is this, I was going to ask if it's new, because I think that's the thing that stuck out to me, was exactly your thought of it's going in the wrong direction, but I don't think that's a bad thing, because if it's a new metric and people are becoming aware of it, you're just trying to find your footing. And so obviously we want to reduce, but I think understanding why that driver is, and if it's a reason like Councilor Corn is saying where people are calling to report, I think it's a good thing, because now you're getting a good amount of data that you can look at and then really look to assess, is this the right metric, or maybe we should readjust. But I think, if this was like I said, is this the first time y'all have done the peak performance metrics?
I don't know if it's the first time that you guys have done them, but it's the first time that they've been part of the things that are presented here, yeah. So I don't think it's your first time, or maybe it is.
And I apologize if I'm making you speak.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. My name is Gino Jimenez, Animal Control Supervisor. Our peak performance program actually started about 8 years ago. So we've been keeping these numbers for the past 8 years. Let me go to that slide. And forgive my voice, I'm trying. Yeah, thank you. So if you look at measure number 4, this is probably one of the metrics, one of the goals that we will probably never obtain. And this was basically because it's out of our control. This is basically an incident that happens between the dog owner and their own dog. So there's no way for us to intervene in any type of bite. When your dog decides to bite you, it's going to bite you, whether animal control is there or not. The other two, as you saw from my report a couple months ago, we were actually able to meet this goal, where our goal was at 65% of all reported strays were secured or impounded. We were able to accomplish that goal. But it was the first time in the 8 years that we've been keeping these measures. So they are very difficult for us to meet. And when we sat down and decided what topics or what performance goals we were going to have, it came to these 4. So it wasn't just me deciding that what we needed to do. This was a whole consensus with the officers, with administration, as to what our peak performance was going to be, because from my understanding at that time, they were funding was our goal. If you hit your goals, then you could get that funding, or we understood where our programs were working and where they weren't, so that we could fund different projects. So these are all hard measures. They're not going to be easy to obtain by any means. And I hope I answered your question, sir.
No, absolutely, and thank you for that. And I appreciate kind of the history, and I think and part of the reason I ask is because, as I mentioned, what for us in the county, looking at the strategic plan, I know our ACO and the different departments did already have some measurements, but I think as we kind of try to focus on specific measurements that we're targeting over the next few years, I just think this is the type of thing that I kind of geek out on, because I think, as Councilor Corrin is saying, you start to look at a measurement and understand, okay, if we're not trending in the right direction, what is that? And maybe, it's not a bad thing that we're going in the wrong direction. It's just understanding why that is, and maybe, like you're saying, like in the case of bite reduction, maybe that's not the right metric. Maybe, as Councilor Corrin is saying, is it an education? Because you're right, you're not there at that instant, but you can identify those opportunities for education.
Absolutely.
So, and that's why I say I think is even for us as in the county side, as we kind of work on our strategic plan, I'm excited to see where these metrics and how we're going to look at them, and maybe we readjust as well, because again, I think it's just a good measurement to figure out and understanding what it is. In this case, the city animal controls what are you seeing, what are you observing, and what is your data telling you? And it's not just about the metric, but what's the outcome? And so that's where understanding, it just puts, like I said, just having a metric tells you, are you looking in the right place or not? Are we doing the right things or not? And so, like I said, that's why I said I think it's interesting to take a look at. The other one that caught my eye too is the field RTOs. And I think as you look at it, I think the trend has been higher this year over the last couple of years. And so I know this month it was down, but overall, you've kind of maintained above the other one. So I applaud you all and appreciate the efforts and the data you're sharing. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. And you can see that if we look at the trend for 2023, we should exceed our numbers for 2022 or 21 in this issue, in this topic. I will say that these two measures right here are response times, or I should go back to the other ones. And I say this, and I've said it many times during my presentations to this panel. During COVID, we were meeting these metrics or these goals easily, because there was a lot of different dynamics that happened during COVID. Now that all those restrictions are lifted and everybody is back to life as normal, these measures and goals are more difficult to obtain.
Absolutely, thank you. Councilor Corrin, yes.
No, and I think I really appreciate you providing that context. I think I just really want us to think about, for instance, if spay and neutering is a priority, and I know that you all are doing a ton of education when you go out and talk to folks, I think it's also really important for us to acknowledge that potentially in how you're measured, because I think that is like an invaluable conversation that might not be reflected in these measures, you know what I mean? And so I think I would just say acknowledging the other types of work that you all do and making sure that that's valued, and however, and again, I don't want to make it sound like, the funding context is directly tied to these things, but I also think tying the valuable work you do and making sure that you're doing that you're getting credited, and acknowledging the work that you do in areas like encouraging people to visit resources or do spay and neuters is really important too. So I just want to acknowledge that isn't part of these measures, really, I don't think, but it might be something that is important to value in the process, I guess is all I'm saying.
Thank you, Councilor Corrin. Ms. Ward.
Just real quick, I just want to remind everyone in regards to like the animal bites. We see stray bites, owner animal bites in 2023, 2022, they have gone up. And like Officer Jimenez had responded earlier in regards to COVID, how things were a lot easier back then. During COVID, as we can all know, a lot of animals got adopted from shelters where people were home, and then everything went back to normal. Those animals were not socialized, they were not taken, they were not going into training and those types of things. So animal control saw an increase of bites. A lot of children were in homes. We had a lot more bite cases at that time. And it's not just here locally, it's globally that we've noticed those increases. So we've seen them for the last couple of years, and I think once we start going through where people are now back to being normal and they can start socializing the animals again and going through everyday activities, then we can start educating and going back to these daily things that we used to do and maybe get these reports back down to the statistics that we want to see. But I think it's going to be, you know, for a while, we're going to see those numbers high before we can get them down. And that's, to me, that's what I've been seeing.
Great, thank you, Ms. Ward, appreciate the information. All right, are there any other questions for this presentation? Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Mr. Clint Thacker, 5.3, Shelter Statistics and Activities.
Good morning, Board. Clint Thacker, Executive Director, Animal Service Center, Mesilla Valley. Here to talk to you today about some of the activities and the numbers from October of 2023. Starting off, currently at the center, 449 animals. This is as of, I believe, 2 days ago. So we have those numbers, 380 dogs, 69 cats. There's a total number of intake that we had in October, 838. So right up there in line to 2022. 553 dogs, 261 cats, 24 other. By the way, I'm not feeling very well, and I asked Bernice if she would do this presentation for me, and not only did she say no, but she also laughed as she said no. So I don't think that was very nice of her to do that. Oh well. So of that 830 animals that came in, this is how they left. So I'm sorry, this is how they came in. So 16.5% owner surrender, 0.5% return. I don't need to read through these, you guys. I can see that. The biggest one, of course, is animal control, 445 or 53% of the animals came in. Our returns, no cats came back. That's great. And only 4 dogs came back. And as always, we meet with them and we ask them if, you know, like the behavior problems, we have our last chance. And we also signed on with a new program called Good Pup. And what that is they are given a free 1 week worth of obedience classes. And then they can also sign on anytime they want, and it's all done online, so like FaceTime. It's 24 hours a day. They can contact them at any time. So we just started that last week, or 2 weeks ago. So we're excited to see how that's gonna be improving some of the behavior things, because a lot of people can't do the one where they make an appointment because they're so busy, but this being 24 hours, we're hoping that they are able to do that. And then they have the decision if they want to pay for them, it's at a discounted price. And then we get a little bit, ASCMV gets a little bit of a kickback if they sign up for those classes. Our diverted intakes, again, these are animals that come in and then we allow or give the individual that found the dog or that might be an owner surrender something. So if they don't have any food, we'll give them food. If they're willing to keep the animal, take the dog for a walk if they found it, then they'll take it back and do those, try to find the owners. So those are diverted intakes. So 134 for October. All right, this is how the animals, the 838 left the center. So we got 20% made it through adoptions. That's a great number, especially for October and the busy time. Reclaims, 11.5%. So that kind of answers your question, Councilor Flores, about how many of these animals actually get redeemed by their owners. That is a mix between city and county, but that tells you that only 11.5% are coming back and getting their animals. And that's less than 100 there. Rescue did a phenomenal job, 196. That included some halo and some, a little higher, also higher up numbers you can see in the next slide, I believe, for the rescues. So we're excited. We're working through with some good people there. The hard one there is the euthanasia and the total live release. So the live release rate is the number of animals that left the center alive. So live release rate, so that's 61.7. Right there, same as 2022. But there was a significant number of euthanasias, and I believe that's coming after this one. Action program for animals, they're always a huge help for us. However, they are on an intake freeze right now. So you'll see in November that there'll be a pretty low number. The Chili City Kitty is a new one. I believe that's the one in the mall, right? So that's the one in the mall where you can go and have coffee and tea with cats that are all around you, have a good time, and all of the cats that are there are available for adoption. And we have had some animals leave. So Chili Kitty comes back and gets more. So we're very excited about that program. Again, Halo down there at the bottom on the left side, 44 animals. It's a big help. Big Mutt Network, 19. We had a good conversation with them about their animals that they're taking from us. Any animals or any groups that are taking cats, we really appreciate because they're the hardest to move. Here's our euthanasia numbers. We are having the space medical is still the #1 reason. These are animals that were selected because they had something medically wrong with them or medical issues. We would have otherwise, if we had space, we would have kept them. But because we did not, that is why it says space medical. And the next one is medical respiratory signs and no treatment. We just don't have the capabilities right now of treating animals with respiratory signs. So if they break with clinical signs of it, then we euthanize them. And you see that's the biggest one for cats. Cats is the pink, dogs is the green. Surgeries continue just to be phenomenal for what we have, and they're doing what they do. So 385 surgery numbers came through there. You can see each one, TNR, adoption, shelter, and then other is anything that's not listed there. So it's anything but spay or neuter, the trap and neuter return. So things like if it needs to be amputation or ablations or anything that incorporates that. Volunteers continue to do a phenomenal job, 305 total volunteers for 517 hours. We did recently go through a volunteer where we worked with, I believe it was the University of Florida, and they have a program there that they assess your volunteer program. We recently got those reviews back. We had 57, so out of the 305, 57 volunteers filled out the report and gave us feedback. That's actually really good compared to what we did when we did it several years ago where we got 5. So we're going to be looking at those 50, seeing what they recommend, what they don't like. So that was some excellent value feedback that we got. We actually no longer have a volunteer coordinator. She went on to bigger and better things, and we're really excited for Yoli. We appreciate all that she's done. The volunteer program has grown exponentially in the last 2 years when she's been with us. So we continue to grow. We have an intern right now. She's actually an amazing person that was a volunteer, and she wants to do this as a job. So she was selected to just be intern on a volunteer basis for us. So we appreciate her in doing that. And it's Samara, but I don't know her last name. Do you know her last name? We don't. We know our volunteers by their first names. We're on a first name basis, we'll put it that way. But what she does though is she's going to keep up the contact between the ASCMV and the volunteers. She has a Gmail address. That information went out to all the volunteers, so the communication won't stop, and we're excited to see what she is willing to do and help us do. The job posting will be coming up very soon, and she hopes that she can apply for that, and we look forward to all the other applicants as well. Visitors, our third highest. Over 1,600 people came into the center in October. Web page views, 32,920. Facebook, again, continues to be up there. Henry was probably on there a couple times, so that bumped it up over the 16,000 mark. He always gets more hits than I do, what it is. We did have a lot from the news center on there, so I know that drove some people to Facebook as well. Some of our upcoming events you'll see there, December 2nd, 6th, 19th, and 23rd. We're going to be out doing either a tabling event or adoptions. Oregon Mountains on the 2nd, we have Petco on the 9th, Farmers Market the 16th, and PetSmart on the 23rd. So we're excited to be at those. Another fun thing to announce, as always, this time of year, we partner with Doña Ana County Humane Society, and we do Home for the Holidays. This is always a big event, and we appreciate teaming up with them. So the Home for the Holidays is going to run December 1st through the 31st. The first 40 pet or animals that are adopted are sponsored by Doña Ana County. And then once we hit the 41, all 41 and the rest, wherever, however many we get, are all $75. And don't forget, all animals have to be spayed or neutered before they are taken home. So sometimes they stay there for a day or two. And here's our pets of the week, Xander and Carla. And I've seen Xander. He's a good dog. He's a great dog. I do also want to say thank you before I open up for questions. The Councilor Cran having her community celebration at our facility. That was in November, so we'll talk more about it then. But that was a great soft opening for the new center, and I'd say it was a huge success. A lot of people came through and saw that. We have a grand opening scheduled for December 7th for the ASCMV at the new center. All of you, of course, are invited. Invitations will be going out shortly. I've also heard from some individuals that want to be included. Jess Williams, former board member, Greg Smith, former board member, all stated they would like to be there. So we'll, if the board knows of anybody else that needs to be or would like to be invited, please let me know and we can get those on there. So that's my presentation. I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Clint. All right, Councilor Flores, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Clint. With the holidays coming, I think that in the past, there have been people who, because it's a holiday and they want to make it a gift, so they adopt a pet and then return it because it didn't work out. Do you have a questionnaire or any way of assessing how predictable it might be that they're really serious about having a little four-footed critter in the house?
Yes, ma'am. We don't have a questionnaire, but we have a conversation with them. So you just go through your talking. And so, why'd you find this pet attractive? And what is it that you like about it? And who's it for? Is it for family? Sometimes, the guy coming to get a kill kitten for his girlfriend, and they find that out, and they're like, well, do they know? Do their mom know or dad know that they're getting it? And if they say yes, then it's okay. Well, it's a big commitment. Make sure this and that. And if they say no, they don't know. He says, well, you really need to let them know. It's not good to. And they say, my daughter once did it, and you get into that whole thing where they relate to them and stuff. They do an excellent job of vetting them. And we don't look at returns as necessarily a negative thing, because when it comes back, we have a whole bunch of questions that we can ask and find out about that animal. This cat really does not like dogs. Oh, that's good to know, thank you. Or loves to have snuggles at night, or only prefers a litter box in a very private area. So all that information we get is a win for us, because the animal's able to get out and we can give that information to a future adopter for it. So we just look for the good things in those returns. We try not to shame the individual. We try not to be negative about it. But we, of course, if they are there because they can't afford or things like that, then we try to work with them to keep the animal there, but try to make it a positive thing.
And how many, or percentage, or do you keep a record of how many are returned after the holidays?
It would be, yes, we do, because we do a return percentage every month, like I presented today. So in January, we'll be able to have that percentage for you for the holidays.
Great. Thank you so much, Clint. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. Are there any questions for Clint? I just want to say, I did not realize that the Chili City Kitty was open. And so I'm kind of curious. I think the idea of the concept of even having, cats come from the ASCMV and be there, not just for, I understand it's a business, but I love the idea of the partnership that could be there, where if people come and have interactions with the cats and then end up adopting them. I mean, that's such a cool new channel that we have here in Las Cruces and Doña Ana County. So I'm excited for that. I am spaced on my other question. So I'll say with that, then that's it. Thank you, Clint. Appreciate the updates.
I also want to let the board know that we are going to be going through a pretty aggressive website change. All of the managers and I feel like our website is very cluttered. It's old. It has more of a cutesy feel than it has more of a professional feel. Also, it's hard to find things when you're there. So we've talked with Wilson Binkley, who's in charge of our website. They completely agree. In fact, she was very excited for it. And I'm like, why didn't you recommend it before so we can start? So we're going to be looking into that. Also, in response to the strategic plan that the county has put in place, we are, next Thursday, I have a monthly meeting with ACO supervisors. It's like a collaboration meeting. So ours is next Thursday. And we're going to be talking about realigning or aligning our missions of what we do. I want Mary Lou to be successful on her strategic plan, and I know that she wants us to be as well. However, there's two of them right there that are very specific for shelters. And so she can't succeed unless we succeed. So we're going to be looking at that and see what we can do to help one another. And same thing with Gino, and then metrics there that I have suggestions that you can do to work on education for bites. I mean, that's when we can get that education and prevention before the bite happens. And so yeah, we'll be collaborating and working on that. So hopefully those will come to pass. And a strategic plan for the ASCMV, I believe, is to a point where I can present it, the thoughts and ideas, to the executive committee and see what their thoughts are. So yeah, things are moving forward. We're in the new center. We're open for adoptions from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. Until 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. depending on weekend or day of the week. So we're excited. Things are going up.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate it, Clint. Okay, and with that, we'll move on to committee reports. We'll start with the Finance Committee, and we are joined by Ms. Demouche.
Well, good morning, Board. I was not actually present at the last Finance meeting. I was taking care of a brand-new grandbaby in North Carolina, so I got to show her off at the exit audit, so proud grandmother down here. But Ms. De Leon did give me some really great notes, and of course, if I miss anything, Clint and Bernice are out there to help me. We did go over, we presented the financials. As always, Finance puts these together, but the Animal Service Center management analyst, who is Michael Fushini, is actually going to start delivering all of these to the Finance Board and also to this committee as well. So at the next quarterly, Michael will be presenting those. They are attached. I noticed Bernice attached those to your packet. This is for the last month. So far, everything is in line. Revenue and expenditures are doing very fine. There seems to be no concerns with any of those. As far as we did discuss about the ability for the Animal Service Center to accept tax-deductible donations. Clint had the pleasure of being on the IRS waiting call, probably, I think my longest was maybe about 8 hours. I don't know if he beat me on that one, but he did contact the IRS to see about the documentation. The IRS said that we do have the support to do this, and the determination letter, I think, will be sent to you, will be sent to the Animal Service Center. I will tell you, Clint, that it does take a while for that letter to come in, and so just be patient, okay? But you know you have the ability to do it. So, also, the check that was received, I think there was quite a bit of discussion at the last board meeting about the check from the Humane Society. And Clint did get clarification on documentation on the donation. And so the check has probably already been deposited, or okay, will be deposited when the documentation is received. So I'm assuming you haven't received a documentation yet. So we will start having our finance meetings in person. We're going to go back and forth, and look forward to having the meetings at the new center. And so we'll be meeting at the finance, and then we'll be meeting also at the Animal Service Center. So looking forward to getting back in person. And so other than that, that was all that we discussed at the finance meeting. Thank you so much, Board Chair.
Appreciate it, Leon. Are there any questions on the Finance Subcommittee? Oh, all right. Well, and congratulations on
Thank you.
your grandbaby. All right, then we'll move on to the Executive Committee. It was just Clint and I know Mayor Pro Tem Gondara got held up, but the one things we discussed is basically things that were for this upcoming meeting. We discussed the van wrap that's up for consideration today. We talked about the CFPP presentation, and then also the strategic plan for the county, and understanding, at least trying to start having discussions to understand how the ASCMV might be able to provide some input and help with those goals. And then the only other note that we had was we had discussed on the audit meeting notice that was sent out, and I think, I think we got some clarity on that as well. But that was all that I had in terms of notes from that meeting. So I don't know, board, are there any questions? No? All right. All right, then we'll have the facilities. I don't know if, I know with Mayor Pro Tem Gondara, I don't know if Clint, you had any updates for facilities? Or I could ask Bernice for the update.
I'm already up here. We'll do it. Yeah, there were some items, and I know if Commissioner would like to comment at all, he can as well. There was, we had our meeting on early in the month is when it happened, so it's kind of hard to say what is still undergoing. We have a roof leak in the break room. It's been an issue, and this is in the new center. Every time it rains with a big downpour, there's a puddle in the corner, so they are looking into that. It's all under warranty, so we don't have to worry about it, but they're trying to chase it and figure out where it's at. We have decided not to purchase those kennels that were at the ASCMV. Remember, they were delivered, they were the wrong height, said we'd like to. Doing some looking into it because of this committee, and it was great that it was actually Mayor Pro Tem that brought it up, was the warranty on these cages. So if we were to alter them in any way, I called and talked to the rep, if we were to alter them, it voids the warranty. So anything we were going to do to make them useful for us, we were gonna have to alter them. For instance, putting them on wheels. And so that was one reason why. The other reason is, and if we wanted to make them individual kennels and wheel them around, because they're designed to be in a bank, we'd have to purchase new walls. And with the increase in costs, it was going to be $30,000 for 24 walls, when the entire kennel system was $60,000. So we felt like that was not only was it not fiscally responsible, but it was fiscally unable to. And so we decided that we being the management department, decided not to purchase those kennels. The good news is now we do have some money to go towards some things in the center that were left out. For instance, that were value engineered out. For instance, the tops of kennels. I didn't feel like it was going to be a major issue not having tops on the kennels, because in my time, I've only seen probably 3 dogs get out ever, climbing over the top. However, in the first day, we had 2 dogs almost get out the new center. I think they were just really excited for being outside, and one dog went straight up the chain link, and we had somebody, a person there that was able to, put their hands up and keep them from going over, and it was a big dog. And then another one is a husky, and if you know anything about huskies, they're a lot like a rubber ball. You just throw it against the brick wall, they start bouncing. Well, this one found out he could jump on and hit the side wall of the outside kennel and then leap up and over. That was all on the first day. Very first day the dogs were in. And so then, since then, we've also had 2 actually get out. So on the first day when those dogs were there, I'm like, we got to get tops. So we talked with a fencing contractor, and he's getting, I guess supplies are super, super limited right now. He's even looking into conduit, electrical conduit as rails for a top fence, because it doesn't need any structural. Doesn't need to be structural sound. It just needs to be something that they can bolt on and attach to the tops, because we're not going to be climbing on it or anything. So he's trying to track down the equipment from there. So hopefully by next week, we'll have a quote and we can use that money there. Another one I'd like to use it for, I haven't discussed this with the managers, but one thing that was value engineered out was a place for employees to have to eat outside. And we have furniture for it, but the patio area was value engineered out. So I was thinking about seeing a quote for a cement slab, and it's just to add on to the cement area back, and then some type of top to go over to protect if during rain and sun. So we're looking into that as well. There's also a plethora of equipment that needs to be purchased, and it's all little things, things that, like holders that go on the wall that will hold the broom and all that. It's just amazing. People get in there, and our staff gets in there, and they just think of excellent things that they could use. I do want you to know we are repurposing things. All the plexiglass that was put on the front of the old kennels that we had in there, remember Jane's put that in there so we could use it? Well, they gave that to us, said we could have it. So we're using it as whiteboards in a lot of the areas. It's fantastic, staff loves it. So we are repurposing a lot of stuff. Staffing continues to be, it's a struggle. We're not in crisis mode anymore, but because we have people coming in, they're getting trained. However, we still have positions opening up, like our staffing specialist individual. We're waiting for drug testing to come back before they start. It may have already happened since I've been out, but we're also, like I said, lost our volunteer coordinator, so it's just a constant rotation. We have a lot of these jobs on a continual rotation basis where we're all constantly recruiting, so we're getting that information go in. Our dishwashers, the new one is installed. We're just waiting for a company called Ecolab to come and do the soap, so it's properly dosing out the correct amount to sterilize the dishes as it goes through. So that one's going to be, we're waiting for that on that side. The one in the new center, or the old center, we have to wait until the one in the new center is running before we can stop using the one in the old center. So it's just a matter of planning. And I believe that's all I have. Commissioner, do you have anything?
No, you have Wi-Fi, which I think is a big one
yes.
too. You forgot that one.
Yeah, we got Wi-Fi. That's fantastic. So And that's all I have for that report.
Thank you, Clint. Appreciate the update, and thank you, Commissioner Sheldon Hernandez, for the assistance. With that. All right. On to action items now. 6.1, a resolution to accept $2,000 donation for the purchase of a wrap for the new ASCMV transport van and to adjust the adopted fiscal year 2024 budget. If I can get a motion and a second for consideration and approval.
Move to approve, Corin.
Second, Shelter Hernandez.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Corn, a second by Commissioner Stalzo Hernandez. Are there any, well, I'll turn it over to you if you want to do a quick synopsis. I think it's self-explanatory.
It was expected, man. It was approved. I'm good. I know this was money set towards the wrap that we have. It's already been done on the new Mercedes van that was donated to us. The same individuals that donated the van donated the money towards the wrap. We appreciate all that they've done. Amazing. They do want to remain anonymous, but we love them with all of our hearts. So we say thank you to them.
Thank you, Clint. Are there any questions from the board? All right. Public input. All right, if I can get a roll call, please.
Board Member Weir?
Yes.
Board Member Flores?
Yes.
Board Member Coran?
Yes.
Board Member Sheila Hernandez?
Yes.
Chair Sanchez?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Very good. Okay. Agenda item number 7, public input. Are there any members of the public that are present that'd like to give input? Not seeing any, so then we'll move on to chair and board comments. Are there any comments from the board? Councilor Corn.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Clint for hosting the community celebration a few weeks ago. It was good fun, and I think I gave some tours, so that was great. You know, questionable my tour ability, but I do think that actually I even had one person who said, I don't understand why the government is paying for any of this. And at the end, he said, oh, I might adopt a barn cat or two for my business. So he came around, and I think it's a testament to you all's sort of good work and thinking about animals and caring about the community that showed when we did tours and while people were there. So thank you for letting us host that there. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Corn. Are there any other comments from the board? All right, all quiet. Then I will ask for a motion to adjourn then. Councilor Flores, please. Oh, please, yes.
So my question is, are we meeting in December? Did we, because I think we discussed it at the last meeting. So December 21? Okay, I won't be here.
Okay.
I won't either. And neither will she. And neither will you, neither will you, neither will you. We can't have a meeting. No, I won't.
We're all off, guys. All right. Well, we'll have to see if we have any potential issues with achieving quorum, and if we either choose to either move the date or cancel the meeting. So depending on what business we have to.
And our third person from the city is going to be a different person at that time, I believe. Will it be in January? Okay, it goes into effect. That's odd,
Yeah.
because they take office right away. Thank you.
The question, actually, with the approval of the JPA and the MOU, and I know that still has to go be approved by the state. So does that mean, are we waiting on state approval before moving to the new board assignments or the quarterly meetings?
I think that's an excellent question. I'm sorry, Clint Thacker. Excellent question, and it's a discussion that I need to have with Ms. Bencomo.
Okay.
And we can discuss that, and I don't want to say anything yay or nay on it, so I'll talk with her, and I'll shoot her an email today, and we'll discuss it and let you know.
Okay. No, that'd be great, just so I guess we can figure out, like I said, understand what their plan is going into December as well as into the new calendar year. Yep. Thank you, Councilor Flores, I appreciate that. All right, any last comments, questions? Going once, twice? right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Shelter Hernandez, a second by Councilor Corrin. Then we will call this meeting adjourned at 10:15 a.m. Thank you all for joining, and hope you have an enjoyable last day of November.